Let's spend a couple seconds here on our brushback to highlight a couple things. One, Tampa on fire. They won out last game against the Yankees, 3 against the Mets. They buried the Orioles at Camden Yards. An excellent series against Toronto and Dunedin. Almost felt like home games for Tampa. Not too far away. And, of course, they had some comebacks and walks in the ninth inning. And, you know, the game yesterday, they're flying. What a job. 11 in a row. That's one away from their team record from 2004. And their schedule, they've scored a ton of runs. They were having a lot of trouble scoring runs into this recent surge. Now they're right there at the Red Sox as far as runs scored is concerned. You know they have a good bullpen. You know they're going to finagle with that rotation. And they're right there now as far as the top of the division in the American League East with the Yankees and the Red Sox. And their schedule down the road here is not that difficult. 3 with the Royals here tonight. They're under 500. 2 with the Phillies, who can't get out of their own way at home. Then they have the Yankees. That's a tough 4-game set. And after that, with the Yankees, they will only have 2 more series with the Yankees the rest of the way. So keep that in mind. And then they play Texas, Washington, and Baltimore. So out of the next 5 series, there's only 6 series. There's only one of them there on a record that would be tricky, and that's the 4 at Yankee Stadium. So Tampa's got a chance here now with one of the best records in the sport, right there at the Red Sox and the Yanks atop the American League East, to sort of split away a little bit and, you know, put themselves in postseason contention, you know, basically about 40-45% through the season once they get through these next, whatever it's 5, 9, 12, 17 ball games. So we'll keep an eye on that as far as Tampa is concerned. More on that with Eric Neander here momentarily. Meanwhile, let me spend a minute or two on this American League, on the National League East. First, the Phillies, who can't get out of their own way. One day they pitch, they don't hit. The next day they hit, they can't. They hit and they can't pitch. Another day they pitch, they can't hit. Obviously, Harper's done nothing. He's got banged up a little bit with the shoulder, and he hasn't done anything offensively. They've had injuries of 3 and Muto. You know their bullpen's always going to be problematic. The Marlins beat them 2 out of 3 at Philadelphia last week, and this is after the Phillies had won that very exciting first game of that series with a huge 8th inning. They weren't able to make that stick. They go now play in Florida, in Miami, lose the first game of a big series there. They're 2 games under 500, and that is off a very good start. Remember, they were 5-1 to start the year. They swept Atlanta, beat 2 out of 3 from the Mets, and so they are 2 under ever since, which means they are 6 games under 500 since you know, that good start that they had here with Joe Girardi and obviously Dombrowski running the team. And their schedule gets tricky. 3 with Miami, who you know can pitch. Then they go to Tampa for a couple of games. Then they come home. They got the Yankees. They got Atlanta. And then they go to the West Coast to play the Dodgers and Giants. So they have a very, very tricky schedule. Nola has regressed. He's not as good as he was a year or so ago. I mean, Wheeler's their best pitcher. You know, Eflin's okay. Velasquez is decent. Their bullpen is, keep your fingers crossed, Kinsler's been terrible on an everyday basis. Duval last night. And you'd be very, very concerned here right now as far as the Phillies are concerned in this division. You know, the division can't get out of its own way. The Braves have had a lot of issues. They're under 500. So are the Mets. And the Phillies, you know, had a chance to put themselves at least in good shape first third of the season. And they got off to a good start. And they have been unable to do that. So I'd be very concerned about the Phillies right now in that division. They haven't played great defense either. They've been occasionally sloppy. Their third baseman's been sloppy. Injuries with the shortstop. And they got a lot of problems, the Phils, in that division. So we keep an eye on them. And the Mets have problems too. With the Mets, though, you can pinpoint it to a certain degree to the injuries. You know, McNeil's going to be out now for another month. Conforto is going to be out for another month with hamstring issues. These hamstrings and obliques, and these players get hurt a lot. Maybe it is the 60 games from last year now ramped up to the 162. Whatever the case, Carrasco's had setbacks left and right. He hasn't pitched. Maybe July for him. So the Mets have some injuries. You know, J.D. Davis has been out. Alonso's been out. So the Mets have injuries that you have to be concerned about. The other thing the Mets have is they're not doing anything with their big players when, in fact, they've been relatively healthy. Case in point is Lindor, who's getting booed out of the building. I mean, listen, it's not a big deal. He's not going anywhere. Those boos can turn to cheers in a sec. But he's not used to New York, and, you know, he's signed that big deal. So he's not going anywhere. He's got to deal with it, and the fans got to deal with him. But, you know, he has not carried the team at all. Couple of moments. The one in Colorado, we got a big hit that home run against Arizona left field on Raccoon Rat Night when him and McNeil had to fight in the runway. But other than that, he has done very little with the team. He double play last night, striking out left and right. And again, he's in a tricky spot because he's got a lot of guys around him who are hurt. So I don't want to go too crazy on him, and I know he's going to be good, but coming off last year in a 60-game season where he wasn't great, where he hit 258, where it wasn't great, you know, there is a little raised eyebrow as far as Lindor is concerned the first third of this year. Mets, again, have a million injuries. Their center field situation's a major problem. And, you know, deGrom hasn't pitched in 2.5 weeks. He goes tonight. We'll see what he does. The Mets need him. Stroman's come back down to earth a little bit. Peterson got hurt last night. So they need deGrom at the top of the rotation. It's very significant that he goes out there and pitches a big game tonight. Mets have the Rockies this week. Rockies up until last night, they only won 2 road games on the year. Mets could not get it done in the 9th inning. McCann has not done a good job offensively. He hasn't hit at all. So they're 2 big free agent pickups from the offseason that they spent $390 million on are basically hitting 200. I mean, that's all there is. Hey, listen, we know that Lindor's a great shortstop, and McCann plays hard behind the plate, but they're hitting 200 combined. You got to be fair. That's just the way numbers, that's what they say. And the Mets are, what, a game or so over 500 right now. Now, they have excuses because they have been incredibly banged up with injuries, pitching-wise, too. But still, you know, they haven't done anything either. 3-6 road trip, bad series in Miami. I mean, you know, they had a terrible series which got Tampa going down there into Trop. So issues for the Mets, but keep an eye on that. So Mets and Phillies in the NL East. Tampa flying in the AL East. And we'll keep an eye on the Blue Jays now. We'll go to Yankee Stadium for 3 games. Springer, of course, is out. Nothing new there. And you have to be a little worried about Toronto right now, what we, in fact, think that they might get out of this. I mean, they are right on the threshold of being down in Oriole territory. You know, they have not played well. The Red Sox beat them, Tampa beat them, and now they go to New York against the big bad Yanks. And then they go to Cleveland, and, you know, Toronto, a young team that's aggressive, that is usually pretty sure of themselves, fearless. Right now, they are facing the gauntlet. They could be 4.5, 5 out now. If they're not careful, they can find themselves 8 out behind 3 teams as we head to June.